The gym was alive with sound and energy. It was a large modern space with high ceilings, bright lights, and walls lined with mirrors. Metal beams stretched across the ceiling and the floor was polished to a soft shine. People were moving everywhere. Some were sparring, some lifting weights, and others were quietly practicing techniques on their own. The scent of sweat mixed with the faint smell of cleaning polish, giving the place a feeling of effort and focus. Among all the chaos, a young girl named Mina was standing near the edge of the gym. She was not a professional fighter, not someone famous or strong-looking. She wore a simple training outfit and her hair was tied back neatly. Her hands were wrapped in cloth for protection and her eyes were calm and steady. She moved with care, practicing basic stances and strikes. To anyone passing by, she looked like a quiet, ordinary girl who had nothing remarkable about her. Across the gym, Rico noticed her. Rico was a famous fighter, known for his black belt skills and for winning almost every challenge he accepted. He had a confident, almost arrogant smile, and he loved to show off. Today, the gym was full of people watching him demonstrate techniques, and he'd already bested 2 challengers with ease. Now his attention was on Mina. "Who is that?" one of Rico's fans whispered. "She looks like she doesn't even belong here." Rico grinned and called out in a loud voice, "Hey girl, come here. I'll show you how a real fighter works. Don't be shy. Just for fun." His tone was playful but also meant to provoke. Everyone in the gym turned to watch. Mina did not move immediately. She looked at Rico quietly, her eyes steady. There was no fear in them, only focus. Some people in the crowd laughed, expecting her to ignore him or run away. They thought a young girl could never match a master, but Mina simply nodded once and walked toward the center of the gym. Her steps were small, controlled, and calm. The mirrors reflected her movement, and the crowd noticed something unusual. She did not hesitate or show nervousness. Even though she was clearly inexperienced compared to a black belt, she carried herself with confidence. Rico laughed, waving at the spectators. "See, she is coming. This will be easy. Everyone watch carefully. I won't hold back." He adjusted his stance, readying himself for what he thought would be a simple demonstration of his power. Mina reached the center of the gym. She stopped and took a deep breath. Her hands rose into a defensive position, her feet planted firmly. The room fell silent. Even the clattering weights and distant shouts seemed to pause. The gym, which had been full of noise just moments ago, now waited for something extraordinary to happen. "Are you ready?" Rico asked, smirking. His voice carried the confidence of someone who had faced hundreds of opponents and never lost. Mina did not answer with words. She only nodded slightly, her eyes locked on him. There was no fear, no hesitation, and no smile. It was as if she was prepared for this moment, even though no one knew how. Rico moved first. He launched a fast punch toward Mina's chest, expecting her to flinch or step back, but Mina stayed still. In a blink, she raised her hand and intercepted his attack. The sound of her strike hitting his wrist echoed like a sharp snap. The crowd gasped. Many had never heard a sound like that in the gym before. Rico's eyes widened. He had not expected resistance from someone so young. He tried again, faster this time, aiming a kick toward her side. Mina pivoted slightly, her movement graceful yet precise, and blocked the attack. She countered with a small but firm strike that caused Rico to stumble backward. For a moment, the entire gym seemed frozen. People whispered among themselves. "Did she just... I can't believe it. She is only a girl," and she made him step back. Rico's face changed from amusement to surprise. He had faced skilled fighters before, but Mina's timing and balance were unusual. She was not relying on raw strength. Every movement was measured, every block and strike deliberate. Mina's training had been quiet and unnoticed. She had spent years practicing in secret, learning not just techniques but observing people. Her mother worked as a maid in the city, and Mina often watched fighters from a distance. She studied their movement, their mistakes, and the way they balanced their bodies. No one had thought she would ever challenge anyone, yet here she was, standing in the center of the gym and holding her own against a master. Rico adjusted his stance. He decided to test her further. He launched a flurry of attacks, punches, and kicks moving in rapid succession. Most people would have been overwhelmed, but Mina moved with the flow of the attacks. She blocked some, dodged others, and countered whenever she saw an opening. Every move she made was like water, soft but strong, flexible yet firm. The crowd could not look away. Everyone was leaning forward, eyes wide. Trainers, fighters, and spectators alike began to realize that this was no ordinary girl. Mina's calm expression, her sharp reflexes, and her precision made her appear almost unstoppable. Rico paused for a second, breathing slightly faster than usual. He had faced many challengers who relied on strength or speed, but Mina was different. She was unpredictable. She did not fight to show off. She fought to end the attack efficiently without wasted movement. "Who taught you?" Rico asked, not lowering his guard. He was curious but cautious. Mina shook her head. "No one," she replied simply. Her voice was quiet, but it carried weight. She did not boast. She did not seek attention. Her skills were her own. Rico smiled faintly, not with arrogance this time, but with respect. "Interesting," he said. "Let's see how far you can go." The gym held its breath again as Rico prepared his next move. He was a master, but Mina's calm and steady presence made him careful. The young girl, who had once only practiced in secret while watching from the sidelines, was now standing toe-to-toe with a fighter known for dominating any opponent. In that moment, the gym was not just a place of exercise or competition. It became a stage for something rare, a demonstration of human potential. Mina, the maid's daughter, was about to show that courage, focus, and observation could make even the quietest, most overlooked person powerful. As the next exchange began, the room seemed to hold its breath. Every eye was on Mina. Everyone wondered, could a girl with no formal training actually challenge a black belt? And as her first strike connected with precision, the gym knew they were about to witness something unforgettable. The gym had never been so silent. Every person who had been chatting or moving about had stopped. The sound of Mina's first strike still echoed in their minds. Even Rico, the black belt who had challenged her, froze in place, surprised by the precision and timing of that single hit. Mina's strike had not been forceful in the way most fighters would expect. It was not a punch meant to hurt. It was a strike that disrupted balance, a skillful tap that made Rico stumble slightly backward. In that moment, the entire gym understood something. This girl was not ordinary. She had control, timing, and calmness beyond her years. Rico adjusted his stance. He was a master of combat, but even he had been caught off guard. He had expected her to flinch, to step back, or even to panic. None of that had happened. Instead, she had waited and responded with exact precision. He could feel the energy in the room shifting. The crowd was watching, not with amusement anymore, but with awe. Mina's eyes were steady. She breathed calmly, each movement controlled. She did not rush. She did not exaggerate. She simply observed, analyzed, and reacted. Every strike and block was purposeful. The crowd began whispering. "Look at her stance. She is so calm. How does she know what to do?" Rico lunged forward with another attack, faster than before. He aimed a combination of punches and kicks, trying to overwhelm her. Mina moved like water flowing around his attacks. She blocked one punch, sidestepped a kick, and countered with a tap to his chest that made him stagger again. The sound was sharp but light. It was the sound of skill, not force. A few spectators gasped audibly. "She is incredible," someone said. "I have never seen moves like that before." Another added, "She is barely moving, but she is controlling him with every step." Rico wiped a small drop of sweat from his forehead. He was used to opponents who relied on brute strength or flashy moves. Mina relied on observation and timing. Her calmness was her weapon. Each strike, each movement seemed to have purpose, and it was clear she had trained her mind as much as her body. The young girl's movements were a combination of patience and speed. She waited for openings, and then she acted with precision. It was as if she knew where Rico's strength was and where it could be challenged. The gym was no longer a place for casual practice. It had become an arena where something rare was unfolding. Rico, realizing he could not rely on his usual showmanship, began to focus seriously. He tested her with more complicated attacks, kicks that twisted through the air and punches that came from unexpected angles. Mina responded effortlessly. She adjusted her position, blocked at the right moment, and sometimes simply moved out of the way, letting the momentum of his attack carry him past her. The spectators were on the edge of their seats. Trainers stopped correcting students. Fighters paused mid-practice. Everyone's attention was on Mina. Some were taking mental notes while others could only stare in awe. This girl, the maid's daughter, was doing what many thought impossible, holding her own against a seasoned black belt. Rico's breathing became slightly heavier. He had to think differently. He could no longer predict her moves based on common patterns. Every time he attacked, she reacted in a way that disrupted his expectation. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it worked. He had faced many opponents, but none had challenged his rhythm so completely. Mina noticed a small change in his stance. His right shoulder was lower, his left leg slightly off balance. Without hesitation, she struck again. The contact was precise, barely a tap, but enough to unbalance him slightly more. He paused, realizing he could not underestimate her. In the crowd, whispers grew louder. She is amazing. She is so small yet so strong in skill. Who is teaching her? No one had an answer. It was clear she had not had formal training like Rico. She had not spent years in a dojo with masters. Yet somehow she had learned to fight in a way that felt natural, effortless, and effective. Rico decided to try a different tactic. He would slow down, observe her, and test her defense. He threw a controlled punch, careful to gauge her reaction. Mina did not flinch. She read his movement perfectly and blocked his strike. Then she countered with a quick movement that tapped his side. The timing was flawless. The gym erupted in quiet murmurs. Everyone was impressed by the accuracy. It was not a fight of power, but a fight of intelligence. Mina's first strike had silenced the gym, but every following movement reinforced what the crowd was beginning to understand. She was extraordinary. Rico's eyes narrowed slightly. He was curious now, not just challenged but genuinely interested. Who was this girl and how did she move like this? He launched another series of attacks, each one more unpredictable than the last. Mina responded without panic. She moved with grace, her body flowing like water, absorbing each strike and finding tiny openings for counter-moves. It was as if she could see the pattern before it happened. She blocked a punch, sidestepped a kick, and tapped his shoulder lightly, breaking his rhythm. Rico paused again. He had trained for years, and he had never faced someone who could adapt so quickly and calmly. The crowd started to cheer quietly, impressed by her skill. Some trainers whispered to each other. She is analyzing him faster than he is analyzing her. She is small, but her mind is sharp. That is what makes her dangerous. The gym, once full of noise and laughter, now hummed with tension and excitement. Mina's focus never wavered. She breathed steadily, moved efficiently, and remained alert. Her first strike had silenced the gym, but her continued skill kept everyone captivated. Rico, usually full of confidence, now showed respect in his eyes. He realized this was not about showing off. This was about a challenge, a test of skill and strategy. The next exchange began with Rico trying a combination of high and low attacks, aiming to confuse her. Mina did not falter. She shifted her weight, blocked some strikes, and allowed others to pass harmlessly by. Then she countered with a strike to his side. The movement was subtle but effective, forcing him to stumble slightly. For the spectators, it was like watching a dance. Every move had meaning. Every step was calculated. Mina, the maid's daughter, had transformed the gym into a place where her skill, focus, and intelligence shone. The crowd had never seen anything like it. Rico paused, breathing more deeply now, but not in frustration. He was impressed. He had faced many fighters, but none like her. She had turned a challenge into a demonstration of human potential. The silence in the gym was now replaced by quiet admiration. Mina's calm demeanor, precision, and understanding of balance had not only held Rico off, but had forced him to adjust his strategy. The crowd realized this was more than a sparring match. It was a lesson in patience, observation, and the power of focused effort. The gym watched as Mina prepared for the next exchange. She did not rush. She did not show fear. She simply stood, ready and confident. The young maid's daughter had already silenced the entire gym with her first strike. But now she had captured their respect with every move that followed. Even Rico, the experienced black belt, could not hide a small smile. He had come to the gym thinking this would be a casual display of skill. Instead, he was witnessing something rare, a young girl, underestimated by everyone, showing the depth of her talent and focus. In that moment, the gym understood that strength was not only measured by years of training or physical power, it could be measured by focus, intelligence, and courage. Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, had just proved it. The gym was buzzing with an unusual energy. The excitement from Mina's first strike and her calm, precise movements had not faded. In fact, it had grown. Spectators were leaning forward, whispering to each other, while some trainers silently nodded in approval. Mina was no longer just the quiet maid's daughter. She was now the center of attention, and every person in the gym wanted to see what she could do next. Rico adjusted his stance. His usual confidence was still there, but it had been replaced with a cautious respect. He was a master of combat, someone who had faced fighters with years of formal training, but Mina was different. She was not relying on brute strength or flashy techniques. Her movements were strategic, flowing, and precise. Each strike and block seemed planned, yet natural, as if she had anticipated every move before it happened. Rico attacked again, faster this time, trying to push her limits. He aimed a series of punches and kicks that required quick reflexes and sharp awareness. Mina responded calmly. She blocked some strikes, sidestepped others, and countered whenever an opening appeared. Her movements were smooth and controlled, but they carried a quiet power that surprised everyone watching. A small group of spectators began whispering excitedly. "She is incredible," one said. "It is like she can see the future," another added. "No one else could move like that." The words were full of awe, and they captured the growing admiration for Mina. Rico noticed something remarkable. Whenever he tried to attack aggressively, Mina's counters were not just reactive. They were strategic. She seemed to understand his intentions, reading the subtle shifts in his stance and movement. It was as if she had studied the patterns of fighters like him for years, learning not just their attacks but the principles behind every motion. Mina's life had not been easy. Her mother worked long hours as a maid, and Mina often spent her time observing the world around her. She watched fighters train, people move, and animals act. Over the years, she had developed an extraordinary understanding of balance, timing, and anticipation. She may have been small and young, but her mind had grown sharp through careful observation and focus. As Rico launched a spinning kick, Mina reacted with perfect timing. She leaned back slightly, avoiding the kick, and tapped him lightly on the shoulder with the edge of her hand. The strike was soft, but it disrupted his balance. The entire gym gasped again. Even seasoned fighters watching could not hide their amazement. "Who is this girl?" one of Rico's fans whispered. "She is barely moving, but she is controlling him completely." Rico steadied himself, breathing evenly now. He realized he could not rely on his usual skills alone. Mina's strength was not in her physical power, but in her understanding of movement and timing. Every counter she made was calculated. Every block and strike was effective. She was small but intelligent, and her intelligence made her formidable. Mina remained calm, her expression serene. She did not try to dominate or show off. She simply waited, observing Rico's movements, and acted when necessary. Her focus was absolute. There was no fear, no hesitation, and no arrogance. This was her moment, and she was fully present in it. Rico tested her again, this time with a more complicated sequence. He combined low kicks, high punches, and sudden changes in direction. Most fighters would be confused or overwhelmed by such a combination, but Mina responded flawlessly. She adjusted her stance, blocked attacks with minimal movement, and countered with small, precise taps that forced him to pause. The crowd was silent, watching in awe. Trainers exchanged glances. "She is analyzing him faster than he can analyze her," one said quietly. "She is small, but her mind is sharp. That is what makes her dangerous." Rico realized something important. He had faced strong, experienced opponents before, but none had been able to force him to think so carefully in such a short time. Mina was not just defending herself. She was controlling the flow of the fight, dictating the pace, and keeping him off balance without ever appearing aggressive. Mina's movements were like water, flexible, flowing, yet impossible to stop. She shifted her weight, adjusted her stance, and responded to attacks with perfect timing. Every step was measured, every motion intentional. It was a rare combination of calmness, intelligence, and instinct that even Rico could not ignore. The spectators began to cheer quietly, impressed by her skill. Some whispered to each other. "She is incredible," one said. "I have never seen anyone move like that." Another added, "It is not strength. It is intelligence and timing. That is what makes her special." Rico, breathing more steadily now, realized he had underestimated her. He had come expecting a casual sparring match, a simple display of his skill. Instead, he was facing someone who had studied movement, strategy, and timing without formal training. Mina's mind had prepared her body to react in ways that were nearly perfect. He attacked again, faster this time, aiming to break her rhythm. Mina responded with grace, blocking and redirecting his strikes. When he tried a sudden low kick, she anticipated it and countered with a light tap to his leg, making him stumble slightly. The gym gasped. Even Rico's friends in the crowd were amazed. "Unbelievable," one whispered. "She is tiny, but she is controlling him completely." Mina's calmness and intelligence were becoming more evident with each exchange. She did not waste energy. She did not strike unnecessarily. Every movement had purpose. She had turned what could have been a chaotic fight into a display of skill and strategy. Rico realized that he had to adapt. He could not rely on speed or strength alone. He had to anticipate her counters and find openings that were not immediately obvious. He tested her with feints, sudden changes in direction, and unexpected movements. Mina responded without hesitation, her eyes always on him, reading his intentions and reacting accordingly. The spectators could hardly believe what they were seeing. The gym, once filled with casual noise, had become completely focused on this young girl. Trainers stopped their lessons, students paused their practice, and everyone's attention was fixed on Mina and Rico. It was clear that something extraordinary was happening. Mina's focus never wavered. She breathed steadily, moved efficiently, and remained alert. Her first strike had silenced the gym, but her continued skill had captivated everyone's attention. Rico, despite his experience, was now fully engaged, respecting her intelligence and timing. She had learned from watching, from observing, and from practicing quietly. Her mother's long hours as a maid had given Mina the time to study the world and understand people. She had turned that understanding into skill, and now she was demonstrating it in a way that amazed everyone. Rico launched another attack, testing her reflexes with speed and unpredictability. Mina responded with ease, redirecting his momentum, blocking some strikes, and countering with precise taps. Each move was small but effective, keeping him off balance and forcing him to adapt constantly. The crowd was mesmerized. Some could see the subtle adjustments in her stance and movement. Others were captivated by her calm presence. Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, had become the center of attention, showing that skill and intelligence could outmatch experience and strength. Even Rico, the black belt who had challenged her for fun, began to nod slightly in acknowledgement. He realized that this was more than a casual sparring match. It was a demonstration of focus, strategy, and the power of careful observation. Mina's calm, precise movements had not only held Rico off, but had begun to overwhelm him. She was small, yes, but her understanding of movement, timing, and balance made her a formidable opponent. The gym had never seen anything like this before, and everyone present knew they were witnessing something rare. As the exchange continued, it became clear Mina's skill was not just in physical ability. It was in her mind, her focus, and her understanding of strategy. She had turned what could have been a simple challenge into a display of human potential. For the first time, Rico realized that winning or losing was not the point. This was about respect. Respect for skill, focus, and intelligence. Mina, the maid's daughter, had quietly and confidently proven that greatness could come from unexpected places. The gym watched in awe as Mina prepared for the next movement. She was calm, focused, and ready. Every eye was on her. Every breath in the gym seemed to match hers. Mina's hidden skill had been revealed, and it was more powerful than anyone could have imagined. The gym was alive with tension. The whispers from spectators had grown into murmurs of admiration. Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, had proven herself time and again, moving with skill and intelligence that few could comprehend. Even Rico, the black belt who had come to show off, now faced the reality that he was dealing with an opponent far beyond what he had expected. He had faced hundreds of challengers over the years, yet none had shown the combination of calm, focus, and precision that Mina displayed. Every attack he launched was met with a well-timed block, a sidestep, or a counter that disrupted his rhythm. The black belt had always relied on experience and muscle memory, but Mina's strategy forced him to think in new ways. Rico paused briefly, breathing evenly, and observed her. She stood perfectly balanced, her stance solid yet flexible. Her eyes were calm, focused, and unshakable. He realized she was not reacting blindly. She was reading him, anticipating his moves, and making split-second decisions that even a seasoned fighter could not predict. He attacked again, faster and more aggressively. High punches, low kicks, and sudden spins formed a continuous sequence. Mina moved like a shadow, light and precise. She blocked the first punch, twisted to avoid the kick, and tapped his chest lightly with the edge of her hand. The strike was soft, almost elegant, yet it forced Rico to step back. The gym held its breath. Every spectator, from trainers to casual onlookers, was captivated. It was not a fight of power, but of mind and control. Mina had quietly transformed the arena into a stage where intelligence and focus dominated raw strength. Rico's brow furrowed slightly. He realized he had to adapt. Mina had already shown she could handle speed and power, so he tried to test her in a new way. He slowed his movements, feigned weakness, and then struck in sudden bursts. Most fighters would be caught off guard by the change in pace, but Mina responded perfectly. She read the feints, blocked the attacks, and countered strategically. The crowd murmured in awe. "She can read him," one whispered. "It is like she knows what he will do before he does it." Another added, "She is incredible, so small but so skilled." Mina did not smile or boast. Her focus remained absolute. Each movement was precise, each decision deliberate. She had not trained in a formal dojo with masters, but she had learned from observing, from understanding patterns, and from practicing quietly over many years. Her life had given her patience, and her patience had turned into power. Rico tried a spinning kick, a technique he used to overwhelm opponents. Mina leaned back, avoiding the kick, and lightly tapped his shoulder. It was enough to unbalance him for a moment, and the crowd gasped. Even those who had trained for years watched in disbelief. This young girl had anticipated a move that took experience to master. For the first time in his life, Rico felt the need to respect a challenger. He realized that his usual techniques would not be enough. Mina had taken control of the fight through focus, intelligence, and perfect timing. It was a lesson in skill beyond raw strength. Mina moved calmly, shifting her weight, adjusting her stance, and maintaining balance. She did not attack recklessly. Every strike, every block was calculated. She had transformed what could have been a casual sparring match into a display of human potential. The spectators could not contain their excitement. Trainers leaned forward, whispering advice to each other. "Look at how she controls the pace," one said. "She is small, but her mind is sharp. That is what makes her dangerous." Others nodded silently, knowing they were witnessing something extraordinary. Rico launched a high punch aimed at Mina's head. She ducked, sidestepped, and tapped his arm lightly, causing him to stumble. The strike was minimal in force, but perfect in placement. Every person in the gym felt the impact of her skill, and the atmosphere was electric. Rico took a deep breath. He had expected to teach her a lesson, but now he was learning. He had to think differently, move differently, and anticipate differently. Mina had challenged him not just physically, but mentally. She had forced him to adapt in ways he had never experienced before. The turning point came when Rico tried a complex combination, a high kick, a low sweep, and a quick punch sequence. Most opponents would panic or miss a beat, but Mina flowed with the attack. She avoided the high kick, stepped over the low sweep, and blocked the punches with perfect timing. Then with a small but precise movement, she struck his shoulder again, breaking his rhythm entirely. The crowd gasped. Even Rico's friends were stunned. "She is unbelievable," someone whispered. "She is small, yet she is controlling the fight completely." Rico smiled faintly, not with arrogance but with respect. He realized he was no longer fighting to win. He was learning. He was experiencing a rare moment where intelligence, focus, and human potential were on full display. Mina, the quiet, Maid's daughter, had turned the fight into a lesson for everyone watching. Mina did not rush or hesitate. She remained calm, breathing steadily and observing. She had already silenced the gym with her first strike, but now she was commanding respect with every move. Each tap, each block, each step demonstrated her understanding of balance, timing, and strategy. Rico tried a sudden spin aiming to surprise her. Mina anticipated it. She sidestepped, redirected his momentum, and tapped his side lightly. The strike was subtle, yet it caused him to pause. The gym erupted into cheers. Everyone realized that this was no ordinary fight. This was a display of skill, intelligence, and courage. The young maid's daughter had become the center of attention, not through force, but through control. She was small, but her mind was sharp. She was quiet, but her presence was commanding. She had transformed the gym into a space where skill and strategy mattered more than size and strength. Rico's respect grew with each movement. He realized that his black belt was not enough to dominate her. She had something he had never seen, a combination of observation, patience, and intelligence that made her a formidable opponent. He had challenged her for fun, but now he was fully engaged, recognizing her skill and learning from it. The gym watched as Mina prepared for the next movement. She did not rush. She did not hesitate. She simply observed, calculated, and acted. Her calm demeanor and precise movements kept everyone captivated. The turning point of the fight had passed, and it was clear that Mina had gained control. For the spectators, the lesson was clear. Strength was not only measured by muscle or experience. It could be measured by focus, intelligence, and the ability to read and respond to a situation. Mina had demonstrated that skill could come from unexpected places, and that determination and observation could overcome experience and power. Rico attacked one last time, combining speed, power, and unpredictability. Mina moved like a shadow, avoiding, redirecting, and countering. She struck with precision, never wasting energy, and forced him to pause. The crowd erupted into applause. Trainers nodded silently. Fighters whispered among themselves. Everyone in the gym understood that they had witnessed something rare. Mina's calm, focused, and precise movements had turned the tide. She had gained the upper hand, not through strength, but through understanding, observation, and timing. She had shown that even someone overlooked or underestimated could rise to challenge a master. Rico smiled fully now, acknowledging her skill. "You are remarkable," he said. "I underestimated you. You have taught me something today." Mina smiled softly, a quiet but proud smile. She did not boast. She had shown her skill, gained respect, and proved that focus, patience, and intelligence could achieve greatness. The gym erupted in applause. People cheered, some shouting her name, others simply clapping in admiration. Mina, the maid's daughter, had turned a simple challenge into a lesson in human potential. She had silenced the gym with her first strike, and now commanded respect with her skill and calmness. The young girl had become more than a challenger. She was now a symbol of courage, intelligence, and the quiet power that comes from observation and focus. Even Rico, the black belt, had learned that greatness could come from unexpected places. As Mina stepped back, lowering her stance slightly, the gym continued to cheer. The turning point had passed. She had shown everyone that skill, intelligence, and courage mattered more than strength alone. Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, had transformed the gym into a place where respect and admiration flowed freely, and where human potential shone brighter than ever before. The gym was electric. The fight had reached its climax, and every spectator, trainer, and student was fully attentive. Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, had proven herself beyond expectation. She had challenged Rico, the renowned black belt, and not only held her own but had gained the upper hand through intelligence, focus, and calm precision. Rico took a deep breath, stepping back to reassess. He was experienced, confident, and skilled, but this young girl had taught him a lesson he could not have anticipated. He had come to the gym to display his strength, to have a light-hearted sparring match, but now he was faced with the undeniable skill of someone who had trained in her own unique way. The crowd waited in silence, sensing the end of the match. Mina stood poised in the center of the gym. She was calm, breathing steadily, her eyes focused. She had fought not for glory, not for recognition, but to test herself and demonstrate her understanding of movement, balance, and timing. Her presence radiated quiet confidence. Rico nodded slowly, showing respect. "I underestimated you," he said genuinely, his voice carrying across the gym. "You have skill, patience, and intelligence that many masters would envy. You have taught me something important today." Mina's expression remained serene. She nodded slightly in acknowledgement, not with arrogance but with humility. She had not come to the gym seeking fame or attention. She had come to challenge herself and apply what she had learned in years of observation and quiet practice. The spectators erupted into applause. Some cheered her name, others clapped in awe. The gym, once full of casual chatter and noise, now buzzed with admiration. Trainers exchanged impressed glances. Students whispered among themselves, inspired by what they had witnessed. Mina, the maid's daughter, had become a symbol of skill, courage, and human potential. Rico extended his hand toward Mina, a gesture of respect and recognition. She took it firmly, meeting his gaze. In that moment, it was clear that a bridge had formed between master and challenger. Respect had been earned, not demanded. "You are remarkable," Rico said again. "Most fighters rely on strength or experience, but you have proven that intelligence, focus, and observation are equally powerful. Never forget that. You have a rare gift." Mina smiled softly, a quiet, proud smile. She did not boast or seek praise, but the satisfaction in her eyes was evident. She had challenged someone far more experienced, and she had held her own with skill and grace. The lesson she had demonstrated was clear. True strength comes from understanding, patience, and the ability to adapt. The spectators continued to cheer. Some trainers clapped loudly, acknowledging the depth of her skill. Other students whispered excitedly, inspired by her courage. Everyone in the gym recognized that this young girl, who had been overlooked by many, had become the center of attention and admiration. Rico stepped back and gestured toward the crowd. "Everyone," he said, his voice strong and commanding respect, "watch and learn. This young girl has shown what is possible when focus, observation, and determination combine. She is a reminder that skill is not always obvious and potential can be hidden in the most unexpected places." The gym erupted in cheers once more. Mina had not only proven herself as a fighter, but had also taught a valuable lesson to everyone present. The noise, once casual and ordinary, was now filled with excitement, admiration, and inspiration. Mina lowered her stance and relaxed. She had completed her challenge, but her presence continued to command respect. The young maid's daughter had shown that dedication and intelligence could rival experience and strength. Her calmness, precision, and patience had silenced the gym and transformed the atmosphere. Rico approached her again, this time with a small smile of genuine admiration. "You have a gift," he said quietly. "Do not waste it. Train, practice, and continue to grow. I would be proud to see what you become." Mina nodded, grateful but modest. She had not sought recognition, but it had come naturally through her actions. The respect she earned was genuine and well-deserved. The gym, once filled with casual chatter and laughter, now held a sense of reverence. Everyone realized they had witnessed something extraordinary. The crowd began to disperse slowly, still talking excitedly about what had happened. Trainers discussed the techniques they had observed. Students shared what they had learned from watching Mina. Even casual visitors who had come to the gym for ordinary practice left feeling inspired. Mina's skill and focus had left a lasting impression on everyone present. As the gym quieted, Mina stayed in the center for a moment, taking in the scene. She thought about her journey, watching fighters quietly, learning from observation, practicing in secret, and building her understanding over time. Every moment of patience, every hour of careful practice had led her to this point. The recognition she received was not just for talent, but for dedication and persistence. Rico watched her silently, impressed by her humility and grace. "Many would have bragged after a challenge like this," he said softly. "You have shown that true skill is paired with respect and humility. That is rare and that is admirable." Mina smiled gently, acknowledging his words without pride. She had learned that strength was not just in winning but in understanding oneself, in learning from every experience, and in applying knowledge with patience and precision. The gym had witnessed her growth, her skill, and her courage, and the impact of that demonstration would remain long after the fight had ended. Trainers approached Mina, offering guidance, encouragement, and congratulations. Students gathered around asking questions, eager to learn from her. Even Rico's friends, who had come to watch him dominate a casual challenge, were now impressed by her skill and poise. Mina's quiet demeanor had not hidden her talent. It had revealed it in the most powerful way possible. The young maid's daughter had become more than a challenger. She had become a symbol of what was possible through focus, observation, and determination. She had shown that anyone, regardless of background or size, could achieve greatness through patience and intelligence. As the evening sun streamed through the gym windows, casting long shadows across the polished floor, Mina finally stepped away from the center. She walked calmly toward the exit, her head held high. The applause and cheers followed her, a reminder of the respect she had earned. Rico watched her leave, thoughtful. He had faced many opponents, but few had left such an impression. Mina's intelligence, calmness, and skill had challenged him in ways no one else had. He knew that she had a bright future ahead, one where her focus and determination could take her far beyond what anyone imagined. The gym gradually returned to its normal rhythm, but the memory of the fight remained. Trainers shared stories of her movements, students practiced with renewed determination, and spectators discussed the lesson they had learned. Mina had shown them all that skill, focus, and humility were as important as strength and experience. Later, as Mina walked home, she reflected on the day. She thought about her mother, her quiet training sessions, and the hours spent observing others. She realized that every small effort, every moment of patience had led to this moment. The recognition she received was not just for a single strike or a single match, but for the dedication and discipline that had brought her there. Mina smiled to herself. She had not sought glory, but she had earned it. She had proven that intelligence, focus, and calmness could surpass expectation, and she had inspired everyone who had witnessed her skill. The gym would remember her, and so would Rico. She had turned a simple challenge into a lasting lesson about human potential. As night fell over the city, Mina's reputation began to grow quietly. People spoke of the maid's daughter who had silenced the gym, who had challenged a black belt, and who had shown that true skill came from focus, patience, and intelligence. Mina knew that this was only the beginning. There were more challenges, more lessons, and more opportunities to grow. But for now, she walked home with pride, humility, and the quiet satisfaction of someone who had proven herself through her own effort and determination. The story of Mina, the quiet maid's daughter, spread slowly at first, but it carried a powerful message. That day in the gym, she had not just fought a master. She had shown that courage, focus, and intelligence could turn anyone, no matter their background, into someone capable of greatness. And the world, even if only a small part of it at first, had begun to take notice.